Hello, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be checking out a video called The Death Knell of Gacha Games, Arknights Endfield. Now to preface this, I know about Arknights Endfield, I play Arknights, I'm a huge fan, I've been playing it for 5 years, basically, well, and counting, and I've seen Endfield footage. I was mainly watching Cookie Kaze play through the second beta test, and I did see some first beta test footage just to compare between the two versions. And I've seen all the promotional videos and trailers and all the stuff they put out basically. So I'm really excited for this. When the game comes out or when the next closed beta tests come out, I'm gonna be playing it. If I can get in the beta test, I'll be playing it. If I can't, then I'll wait for release and I'll be covering it on this channel. But anyway, moving on to the actual video. I've seen this video circulating around my feed when it first came out like 3 months ago, but I never watched it. It was in my watch later. And I saw that recently he uploaded a new video, and I felt like I needed to know this video as the context. So this video is by Tobero. Link is in the description. You know what to do, okay? So this is a 30-minute video. I'm gonna be giving my thoughts. Yeah, I just wanted to learn more about this game because I don't know that much about it other than watching people play it. And apparently this is criticism, and I do have criticism as well of the game, some concerns, and I feel like this video will address that. So let's go. That's from the cutscene.
Much can be said with certainty about Arknights Endfield after its beta test. It's got huge potential, it's going to be very popular, and this NPC is really sorry.
Really sorry, really sorry, really sorry, really sorry.
Having played the full duration of the beta, I can confidently say that Arknights Endfield has the potential to define a whole new generation.
That's good to hear. It does look very unique.
An exaggeration. But I really must emphasize the word potential. Because right now, I am increasingly worried that potential may never end up being realized.
I am too. I hope it's not too similar to like
also turn the game
Genshin and Wuwa
into the biggest disappointment I've ever experienced in all my years.
I would be so sad if it ends up like that.
Firstly though,
okay, before we continue, I wanted to comment on that, on what I think. I do think that, like, I am worried that it'll be too similar to Genshin and Wuwa. And the reason I'm saying that, even though I know gacha games have different demographics, like different games pander to different audiences, pander isn't the right word, market to different audiences. Like, Star Rail is meant to share an audience with Genshin, but not meant to capture the same audience as Genshin. People who wouldn't ever play Genshin might play Star Rail still. Arknights, for example, isn't a game that everyone would like to play. It's tower defense. Not everyone likes tower defense. Not everyone likes the chibi combat, but it's genuinely one of the most in-depth games I've ever played, with the amount of strategies and with the amount of strategies you can use and the sandbox that it really is in, the state of the game is in, the bunch of different game modes that you can play, hugely in-depth game modes, no seasonal end game, so no reason to really pull for meta characters. You can just make do. Okay, sorry, I'm gonna glaze Arknights. Let me cut that short by basically saying that captures a certain kind of audience, but not everyone wants to play it. Not everyone that wants to play Genshin or Star Rail wants to play Arknights, and vice versa, but sometimes it overlaps. It's a whole Venn diagram. Grand Blue Fantasy, Fate Grand Order, Blue Archive, Girls Frontline, Punishing Grey Raven, Snowbreak, Brown Dust, some of the Madoka gacha games, the Review Starlight gacha game. I think that one, like those ones, EOS. Speaking of EOS, Dragalia Lost, World Flipper, and so on. Oh, Fire Emblem Heroes is still going strong. All of these may have overlapping audiences, especially the gacha part, obviously. But in terms of what there actually is in the game, it's made for different people. But, and here's the but, the reason why I'm actually comparing Endfield to Genshin and Wuwa in particular are because they share the same audience, mostly. So Genshin is firstly an open world exploration game that focuses on slow, beautiful exploration. A lot of quests. Half the game is quests and exploration. The end game is literally like it doesn't matter at all. That's just a live service aspect of it. But the actual meat and potatoes of Genshin is the quests and the exploration. Wuthering Waves, on the other hand, is very similar to Genshin, but it focuses its open world exploration on a different aspect. Wuthering Waves focuses on making exploration really convenient. I remember hearing someone say this, and I agree, it's pretty accurate. Wuthering Waves is an open world exploration game for people who don't want to play open world exploration games. Like there's so many features in it that make exploration really easy and convenient, and that's not a knock on it. That just means that it's trying to attract players who feel like Genshin is too slow in its exploration, and people who want faster versions of that can come play this game on top of the in-depth combat systems that, you know, most people say are more in-depth than Genshin's. So what I'm trying to say about Arknights Endfield is that it also does the same thing. It's an open world exploration game, but it focuses on one unique aspect, and that is base building. It's tactical. You go out, you're basically trying to colonize this place. You're trying to make transport routes, transport resources to and from places. You want to make farm, you want to automate resource management, building bases. It's a whole thing. If you like Factorio, if you like Arknights, if you like these kinds of nerdy niche games, you can play this game. If you also like Genshin or Hua, you can also play this game. If you like playing Genshin or Hua, but you don't like playing those base building games, you can give this a shot because it's similar enough, but you may not like it. But they will try to make it very presentable to you. So, you know, that's why I'm comparing these three. They are in the same boat of open world exploration, live service, gacha games, loot box games. And that means almost direct competition. So Enfield needs to really find its footing in grabbing that unique audience and finding that perfect overlap in the Venn diagram. I am so sorry for talking this much at the start of the video. I promise I won't be stopping for this long later in the video. Okay, let's just keep watching.
So I really need to get the glazing out of my system, so let's just get that out of the way, shall we? There is so much that I fucking love about Endfield. Literally from the moment you open the game, it hits you with the
Arknights.
Oh!
God, it's so good. Harking back to its roots, announcing itself to the world before greeting you with peak music just for the login screen.
The aura farm on this login screen is so good. I love it.
The satisfaction of seeing all the sprawling factory belts come together, customizing map traversal with
Yes, the zip lines. I forgot to mention that.
With your operators working and saying hello.
You're here, Administrator. How's your day?
The view
Very
of power
immersive.
from the Nexus. The phenomenal sound design. The eerie environment and music of Valley 4.
Very Destiny 2 looking.
The gorgeous environment and music of Jinlong. And the headhunting. Oh my good lord, the headhunting. The music on the banner screen gets you all excited as if you're preparing for a rocket launch. You click the button, you hear those distant scintillations, and then...
Very classy pull animation. Shing.
By far the best summoning experience in any gacha game I've ever played. Not even close. Oh, right, good. Got that out of my system.
All right, time for
I
the.
have been fortunate
Time for
enough
the
to play
criticisms.
both the alpha and beta of Endfield.
Ooh, okay, so he's
In
played
its alpha
both.
state, I was hooked. I was full of optimism, and I was wholly convinced that it would be my favorite game of all time. So what changed in the beta?
Yeah, I know it changed a
Thankfully, not
lot.
the base. It's even better than before, and it has a ton of room to grow and become much deeper. Of course, even though the base has a very obvious target audience, with the nature of it being a gacha game, there will inevitably be those who are simply addicted to account progression as gameplay. and will play games they would otherwise have zero interest in just to feed that addiction. For
Calling
those
people
players,
out right
rather
now.
than simplify the gameplay, which would only annoy its fans and still wouldn't be good enough for the gacha addicts, they instead created these wacky inflatable tube guys, which you then have to murder in cold blood,
No!
which unlocks a bunch of tutorials for it. They are quite possibly the most needlessly hand-holding tutorials I've ever had to do, but I don't mind their existence at all if it means they can keep cooking and make it deeper,
Maybe
more
it's
complex,
required.
and even more
Who
fun and
knows?
satisfying in the future. And for those who are hoping for just another account progression dopamine machine, who lament the mere thought of meaningfully engaging with the base at all, fear not, there is actually an easy solution. Don't play it. Unfortunately though, in spite of everything I've mentioned so far, Endfield has made what I feel are very significant mistakes. Pretty much all of them are fixable, these are far from permanent, but in general, beta tests tend to look pretty similar to their full release versions. So let's dive in. The main story is, to put it bluntly, bad. There's no nuance at all.
I have
Stormbreakers
seen
are
the
completely
story.
one-dimensional and uninteresting, just
It's-
generic bad guys who want you dead.
It's something.
Compare them to Reunion from the Arknights main story. They're introduced to us as fighting for the same goal as Rhodes Island, that being to liberate the infected, but with very different methods. There is a clear conflict, I understand the motivations of the antagonists and how they ended up where they are. Landbreakers have none of this.
So, the story in Arknights is pretty fun. It's pretty good, actually, at points in time. Very immersive. Definitely longer than it needs to be. It falls under text bloat as well as basically most other gacha games, actually. I don't know what's up with that. But it also did start pretty weakly, I'd say. I do not think the prologue chapter, like chapter 0 of Arknights, is very good. Now, with hindsight of the story, now especially that the first arc is done, looking back on it, I can see what it was trying to do. Didn't really do it very well. So I was hoping that Enfield was similar, but I was also hoping that they'd know how to actually make a compelling first chapter. A lot of gacha games really flounder when their first chapters aren't really all that. Genshin Impact's first chapter, Mondstadt, was just okay. Really, realistically speaking, it was just okay. It wasn't amazing. You look at Wuthering Waves' first arc story, oh my god, I actually wanted to shoot myself. But then, and then you look at Endfield, it's like, I really want to like this, but you could change a lot. You could change a lot about this. I can see what they're trying to do, probably. And there were some cool bits, but I think there's too much talking. Like, you can afford talking later when the players are invested in the world, but if you want them to be invested, you have to drag them in with something cool first. I don't think there's enough cool bits that aren't too expository. But, I mean, that's just my opinion on how you should hook people in the beginning. So, I mean, what do I know? But there is something there to change.
We also know almost nothing about the aims or motivations of the main villain Nefareth, who might just be one of the most toothless villains
She has
I
the
have ever
potential to
seen.
be really
With the
cool.
sole exception of one line when you first meet her, she shows up from time to time, says some vague bullshit, and fucks off again. How on earth can this be written by Hypergriff, the same people who gave us Patriot and Tallulah?
Ah,
They can
good
very
characters.
reasonably fix all of these issues before the game's release, but the alpha story wasn't good either, so I'm not convinced they will. I have no issue with the notion of a simple story well told, but that does not describe Enfield's story at all. And it's not just the writers who are at fault. At one point, Chen refers to Nefareth as Nephi, which I found extremely weird. Why is she giving the main villain a friendly nickname?
It's a tone
Turns out, this
tone
is because
issue.
in every single language except English, Chen says essentially the equivalent of Nefa something or Nefa whatever, because the name went over her head. It's a subtle way of adding to her characterization. Instead, the English translators collectively hotboxed their entire office and decided Chen is actually giving her the kind of cute nickname you'd normally give to close friends. I am astounded at how incompetent this is, but then again, these are the same translators who translated cold to cryo, for no reason in particular.
Yeah, that
I'm
was
sure.
really strange.
Most of the dialogue is also exasperating.
You should feel lucky, because I am the only one who can take care of technical problems like this. Say no more.
What was
Stop
that
moving
line
already
read?
And do something about that ether side rupture before it gets any worse.
Guys, writers, please! Is it too much to ask not to be treated like an idiot? Who could your target audience possibly be for this dialogue such that you feel the need to explicitly state the obvious multiple times and make sure everything is repeated very slowly for clarity? Oh, motherfucker! Consistent with the emerging trend of disappointing writing, frustratingly are the characters. Not because their writing is bad per se, but because there's just so much wasted potential. For example, Ember is a Sanctor and Shaihi is a Sarkaz. We know from the Arknights story that the Sanctor and the Sarkaz are seemingly always in conflict with each other due to what the Sarkaz see as the Sanctor's betrayal. An image of a Sarkaz and a Sanctor holding hands was very prominent in Arknights' 4th concept trailer as a holy shit moment because its meaning was so significant. Meanwhile, the only mention of something even slightly resembling a connection to this lore is one line in Ember's file saying, "The children born and raised in Talos 2 would never learn that angels and sanctum used to carry
The
beautiful
lore in this game
meanings
is
in times
not
past."
very clear.
If I'm interpreting this correctly, this is the writer's way of saying that the entire history of Terra, all the extraordinary, catastrophic, mountain-moving events that directly led to Terran races ending up on Talos 2, not important. None of it matters anymore. I am so disappointed in
it's
the
a bit-
writers. What a monumental waste of such an incredible wealth of lore at your disposal. All that being said, though, I must admit, I do love the fact the resident Australian, Aviwena, says verbatim, "Burden beast piss? How does it taste like? Crikey fucking bloody oath, Sheila, you piss-drinking cunt." Despite nearly all the
Amazing.
writing being a massive letdown, I want to make it explicitly clear the voice actors, thankfully, are actually good at their job and have done marvelous work with the material they've been given. I'm a huge fan of Aviwena, Dapan, and Wolfguard's regional accents.
Yes.
You're the boss.
I love the accents. They're porting that over from Arknights
Not a
itself. I
problem.
love that.
Leave it to me.
And on top of that, the animations are way more expressive, the models are outstanding, and their idle chatter adds a ton of...
Idealism is always detached from reality, and it's the first step towards disappointment.
Thank you, Wolfguard. Also, just one more thing. I am no prude. I am a straight man who
Bernice!
plays
I
gacha
love her
games.
so
I'm not gonna
much.
pretend not to like fan service. But guys, holy fuck, relax. Subtlety is dead. Humanity is cooked.
It is a
Have
little bit
mercy on my soul.
much.
Guide me from the wayward woman, Lord Jesus. Now, as I said before, everything I have mentioned so far is fixable. Bad writers
I
can
didn't
be
mind it that
replaced and
much.
characters can be given good writing later on, which is why all of this is negligible compared to the #1 issue I have with Arknights Endfield in its beta state, because it is not fixable once it is released. In order to get there, we first need to talk about combat.
Okay, here we go. This is a
Combat
big
in
thing.
Endfield, for the most part, revolves around skills and skill points. Use a shared SP bar to trigger a battle skill, which in theory triggers a combo skill, which triggers even more of them, and so on. Combo skills are essentially just QTEs with extra steps that deal damage. You press E when the prompt shows up, and it gets the neurons going. Basic attack strings essentially serve as the cost of getting a final strike, which is the last hit in the sequence. Final strikes restore SP, so for the most part, you really want to be getting the full sequence of basic attacks to that end. That
Yeah,
logic
that's what I
generally
got
applies
from
to
it.
the combat as a whole. Given the importance of skills, you want to be maximizing SP restoration, hence the prevalence of Arklight in nearly every team composition. Her individual damage may not be anything noteworthy, but her
I
ability
know
to
she's
generate
really
SP
crazy.
is excellent, and more SP means more damage. I'm honestly kind of surprised she isn't a 6-star. Now, the beta also adds the ability to dodge. Due to the nature of final strikes being your primary way of restoring SP, you
Yep.
need to commit to the full sequence of basic attacks to get it, which means currently there is still very much a choice every time an enemy attacks you of either dodging or taking the hit, and the dodge is often not the best move. But it still gives me cause for concern. Future 6-stars are inevitably going to be designed to take advantage of more and more gameplay mechanics. Right now, the dodge only exists as a means of survival rather than facilitating
Oh.
damage. But if a dodge exists in any capacity, there is a very real danger of them leaning much further into it by, say, having a 6-star with a combo skill triggered by a dodge, and then more units with kits centered around dodging who synergize with that 6-star, and a new 6-star whose basic attacks don't get interrupted by the
Oh,
dodge.
boy.
And before long, you'll end up with a player base wanting more and more action, understandably seeking to flex their ADHD action gamer reflexes as their expression of skill.
Okay, so I have things to say about this. When it comes to gacha games, please, then I'm begging, like this is a plea. Think about the mechanics really, really hard. And by that, I mean also think about the future of how you want to expand on those mechanics, because that is what gacha games are. It's a live service game. You always want to add new stuff in it. Scalability. The scalability of the mechanics and making sure that when you add new stuff onto it, it doesn't completely break down. Oh, Sonkai Star out. What? Ah, Honkai Star Rail, right, is an example of a game that makes itself more and more painfully obvious as time goes on that the mechanics that they had in the foundation of the game are way too simple. And it's not that simple stuff, like simple mechanics, are bad. It's just that what they did with it was bad. Instead of adding on to it, and how should I say it? They just broke the rules. They broke the rules and completely made chaos in the game. Like, the foundations are just broken. Anything can be anything right now. Any path like, it doesn't matter what path that your character takes. It'll eventually, there'll be a unit that just does a thing that it normally doesn't do, and eventually everyone's gonna be so homogenous that it doesn't even matter what path they're even doing, sometimes what element they're even using, because there's so many characters now that can just deal toughness damage without, like, ignoring exactly what element it is. So I'm sorry, I'm just tripping over myself right now. Okay, I'm not gonna crash out over Honkai Star Rail in a video. Point is, when you add stuff like a dodge in this kind of game, and it's a gacha game, there is a possibility that you want a play style surrounding a dodge. A character that wants to dodge, and let's say when they dodge, they launch a counterattack. Or when they dodge, it deals damage. Or, in some capacity, just things happen when they dodge. Or they do things and that makes that dodge better. But what happens is, have you thought about what a dominant playstyle would be like if it was strong? Like, if there was a strong dodge playstyle, would that completely trump all the other mechanics or not? It's stupidly tedious to think about all of this for every mechanic that you add into combat, not just the dodging. But you have to do it in a live service game. You need to think about future characters and being like, how are they going to utilize this mechanic? What possible mechanics could these future characters have? You have to think about it long term, because you really don't want to run into problems later on where it's like, oh shit, the foundation of what we wanted to do is a little too shallow. So now when we're releasing this character that adds something to it, it just becomes really strong, by virtue of just adding something that just wasn't supposed to be there in the first place. You know what I mean? And what this guy's saying is true. If we get into, like, right now, it's very strategic, methodical. You have to wait until the last attack in your animation. That takes time. You can't just cancel it and continue. Oh, but speaking of that, they'll eventually, I guarantee you, release a character where if you dodge in the middle of their attacks, the basic attack string, you can continue that attack string, a la Arataki Ito in Genshin Impact, where his basic attack animations, you want to hit specific numbers in his basic attack. I think it's 2, 4, and like 5 or something, to get stacks of a thing. And to help with that, when you dodge, you can continue for a period of time, you can continue the string without dropping it. So I can imagine the same for Endfield, where they add a character who doesn't drop their basic attack string when they dodge, and then they get that final attack off better. That's fine. That's a fun mechanic. But be careful. If you make characters that are too strong like this, you don't make a whole playstyle around this, because then that'll be the dominant strategy. All the characters that require you to hit your final attack will be less useful, because the strategy now is to just ignore that. What if eventually you get characters that supply you with SP without needing to hit the final attack? We already have characters like Arknight who triggers that through QTEs. Imagine a crazier version. Imagine a 6-star version of that. And then what? You don't actually need to hit the final attack anymore. You can just use that character. You know what I mean? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going on a long tangent here. But I'm trying to illustrate that you just really need to think about this kind of thing. So I agree with what this guy's saying.
But with Enfield's base building being the way it is, and with the fact that they didn't dumb down the actual substance of the base building at all since the alpha, the vision the Endfield team had was clearly aimed at the kind of player who likes to obsess over detail, who may not necessarily want something based on reflexes, but instead something more strategic, controlled and precise. The base obviously appeals to this kind of player, while the combat has ended up with a sort of identity crisis. unsure
Yeah,
of what it really wants to
I
look
can
like,
see that.
trying to be a bit at everything while never actually excelling at any of them. Most of the strategy comes from the team comps rather than the execution. The actual process of triggering combos and doing damage and so on, while satisfying for a while, is very easy. Use a battle skill or two, do your basic attack string, face tank smaller hits, use combo skills on cooldown, and repeat. I quickly exhausted every single possibility for improvement, and even self-limiting clears like duos and solos are not at all challenging.
Oh boy.
I died more often to platforming than to enemies. This is mostly due to the current cast of enemies lacking any real variety or complexity. Sure, it will improve with time, but the state of the game at launch has real implications for the
that's
future
true.
of the game. Hypergriff has been through these motions before. Today, more than 5 years after its launch, Arknights is known for its
Yep, but it
meaningfully
took a while for them
challenging
to
endgame
get
modes,
there.
to the point of Chinese universities hosting nationwide
Oh shit, really?
Arknights tournaments
Whoa.
with thousands of dollars in prize money. I've kept playing for all these years because Arknights has such a rich endgame and high skill ceiling, but for a long time it didn't.
That's true,
When it
yeah.
first launched, the most interesting gameplay it had to offer was Chapter 4. It took them years to make integrated strategies a permanent game mode. But the difference is, Arknights didn't offer anything else in terms of gameplay. There was nothing else to play the game for.
Yeah, it was just stages.
With Endfield, Hypergriff seems to have regressed into doing the same thing by making it frustratingly
Are they
shallow in
making
its launch
room
state.
for the
But
future?
doing so this time is a critical mistake.
This game's a little
Those
too
who are
big
looking
to
for
do that, I
strategic
think.
depth will not find it. It is pathetically easy, and it will remain that way for at least the first 6 months or so. Which means once those players have completed their bases, which really doesn't take that much time, they may not stick around for that long. But those who are looking for action will get plenty of it from daily and weekly gameplay, regardless of the difficulty. The ability to dodge not only gives those action-seeking players their daily dose of dopamine, but also significantly diminishes the need for
Healing. Oh my god, yeah,
If
you're
their
right.
overworld healing needs can be met with items you can craft directly from the backpack.
You don't need healers.
And the 4-star like Snowshine can provide literally all my healing needs with room to spare anyway. What reason does the action-seeking player have to engage with the base
You don't
at
need to
all?
craft healing.
The outposts are optional. All they need at that point is some components to make gear. This, combined with the lack of strategic depth in its launch state, creates a serious risk of cultivating a majority of players who are exclusively
that'll be a
invested in
problem.
the action gameplay. Now, this will be a controversial take, but I would not be making this video were I not willing to defend it. I think the best decision Endfield could possibly make after the beta is to remove the dodge entirely. Hypergriff.
Okay, let me think about that. So I know that in the first beta test, they didn't have the dodge. And while I saw some people complain about it, I just kind of felt like, that's cool game design. You're forcing people to be smarter about their movement. But it can be frustrating, definitely. But I do think it's just a different style of combat. I really don't think it's that crazy. Like, I've played games without dodges before, like MMOs. I know they're different genres, definitely. I know that, but I know that it can be done. You can create fascinating, engaging combat scenarios, crazy boss patterns even, and your movement, all you need is just walking or running. You can get to the points that you want to if you're not panicking and you're just clicking on the locations that you want to move in, or in this case, use your keys to move the location you want to without panicking, without panic dodging. Seriously, no panic dodging. I've seen Genshin players and content creators who dodge unnecessarily. Like, look, I'm not a sweaty Genshin player at all. I don't really play the end game, but I can't help but think that half the dodges they do are super unnecessary. You're using up stamina, and for what? The enemies are not attacking you. Like, I see that the attack animations are not going at all, and then they just dodge for some reason after like a basic attack string, or like half the basic attack string, and then they dodge for some reason. It's like, it's a habit. It's a habit at this point, and I feel like if you bring that habit into Endfield without the dodge, it's gonna feel frustrating at first, but it's like, you don't need that. If only if they designed the combat encounters well, you don't really need it. But if players really wanted to dodge, that'll change up how the game works. It's like adding a jump to Honkai Star Rail. You know how many people complain about not having a jump button in Honkai Star Rail when it came out? You don't need a jump in that game. There's no reason to make a jump. And people are like, oh, but it feels so weird. Dog, you don't need the jump. It'll add unnecessary verticality to the characters. So there's no gameplay mechanic tied to it. It's just useless. So it is definitely more of an elitist take to say that it should remove dodge. But if they really wanted to stand out from the other games, I think it might be worth a shot.
Development decisions will be driven by what players want, and if the vast majority of players aren't engaging with the base, the game's evolution will reflect that. This is my #1 issue with the game. They are creating a precarious combination of action gameplay in the combat alongside the slower gameplay of the base.
Yeah, you don't want to make the rift between these two modes of gameplay too large.
In a Gacha game failing to hold in Zenless Zone Zero's TV mode. It is an action game. It was advertised as an action game. Lo and behold, the action gamers didn't like the TV mode, and Hoyoverse decided to all but kill the TV mode entirely.
Which sucked ass because I liked the TV mode. But again, it's the Venn diagram. Remember, there are going to be action players who don't like the TV mode. There are going to be non-action players who try the game anyway and end up liking the TV mode. And then there's going to be players who like the TV mode and the action. That's me. I like the TV mode and the action. I think reducing the TV mode was a good idea, but removing it entirely was not a good idea. But it does point the game more towards a pure action game, like a more action-oriented game. If that's where they want to bring the game, that's fine. That's their design direction. But I just felt like it was a cool mode to add in anyway. But it is true that it caused a rift. It caused a rift because the expectations of different types of players didn't align. This is a very important thing in video games that I don't think players often think about. This is what game designers think about a lot, but when it comes to players, they don't really think about this. They're more often thinking about their own perspective. And that's not bad at all, but it does mean that you're going to have a more biased look, a less, how should I say? A less complete view of what exactly the issue is. So I understand this guy's worry for Endfield in making too big of a rift between the people who like the base gameplay and people who like the action gameplay, and the people, like, you want to hit the middle part. You want people to engage with the base and the combat. It's fine to have people who prefer the base gameplay, people who prefer the combat, but you really don't want people who love the action part but hate the base part, or love the base part but hates the action part, because it's kind of tied together. So that's a precarious line to walk, and anything they change is, I don't know. These are concerning times we live in.
The difference, though, is that Zenless Zone Zero was built from the ground up around its dodge and parry mechanics. It is fundamentally an action game. That is where its strengths lie, and that decision was an act of leaning further into those strengths. Endfield, on the other hand, has been built from the ground up around the base, yet it is taking clear steps towards action gameplay.
Exactly.
Obviously, they aren't going to kill off the base entirely. You might as well announce end of service at that point. But I am convinced Endfield is sleepwalking into doing something not all that far removed. If the game cultivates a player base who are seeking action, then as more and more regions are introduced, each one asking the player to build a new base from scratch, those action-seeking players will complain, and being the majority of the player base, there is a serious danger of Hypergriff pivoting to action gameplay for that reason.
And that'll make it less unique.
We have already seen that Hypergriff is perfectly willing to let you sidestep most of the strategy in their strategy game, so long as you pay up.
Yeah.
But for the same reason Hoyoverse's attempts at strategy have been absolute
Okay, I enjoyed your mechanic.
Did not even hold a candle to developers with mature and polished action gameplay systems.
Yeah, they wouldn't last a day with Wuthering Waves.
Strategic gameplay solves this problem and gives them the space to build on Enfield's strengths and create.
Yeah, I want the combat to be more strategic.
It is by far the best decision they can.
Don't go mashing buttons route.
Instead,
go
they are trying to steer
with
it in two
planning
different
route.
directions simultaneously. One towards that vision they so clearly had a year ago, and one towards appealing to a wider, more general audience.
Okay, you have to be really careful about that. this is the thing I've constantly said about Genshin, is that they have one foot in the door and one foot out the door about a lot of things. It's a game that's basically split into two identities. I tend to diss on Hoyoverse for being like chicken shit for trying to appeal to two different player sides at the same time. They're being really greedy. It's working for them. They're being basically successful, but the voices of criticism are everywhere. And a lot of it is because they're trying to appeal to two different sides of the gameplay sphere at the same time. They're having their cake and eating it too, but it makes their game less good. I love Genshin Impact, but at times I wish that they'd chosen a more strong direction in one way or the other, rather than trying to do a mix of things that just don't really work in the long run. I don't really want to get into this. It's gonna be a long ass video already. So let's just keep going. Let's listen to this guy. We're here for this guy and for my takes on the video, not for tangents, are we? No, actually, you might be here for tangents too. Thank you. Thank you for listening if that's the case.
If we're being honest with ourselves, though, we all know what general audience really means. Let's not pretend otherwise. It means the Hoyoverse audience.
Oh boy. Here we go.
Obviously, there's nothing wrong with playing Hoyoverse games. This does not mean
Yeah,
every single
obviously.
Hoyoverse fan ever. The problem is with those who do not see each game as having a unique identity appealing to different kinds of players, but rather they see 3D anime RPG gacha game as a genre in itself.
This. And the people that just think that if you don't follow Genshin's formula, you're gonna fail. Look, these comments just make me tired. I'm so tired having to like explain this to people. I'll let this guy explain it.
And yes, that does include you, Wuthering Waves fans.
Okay, just side note, one thing I wanted to mention. Genshin versus Wuthering Waves discourse is quite possibly some of the stupidest things I've ever seen. I'm not calling the people stupid, but some of the takes absolutely stupid. It's like some people are treating it as a dick measuring contest. I don't understand why. They're different games. They're similar, but they have their different strengths. And why are you trying to find beef with each other? You're trying to find who is morally superior? Dude, look inwards. The answer is within yourself. Please, do some reflection. Be happy with your life. You don't need to find beef with other people to validate yourself into thinking that what you're doing is better. And if you're just rage baiting, then I also implore you, why are you playing with people's emotions like that? I don't understand. Find something to do with your life that's not this.
Hoyoverse and Kuro games both have their roots in action gameplay, while
Yes.
Hypergriff's roots are in strategy.
Yes.
And yet there are still those who make the
Don't do
argument
that.
trying to be
Make it
like
more
Genshin
strategic.
or like Wuthering Waves or whatever is a good thing because they're the most popular gacha.
Appeal to popularity is so ridiculous. Who cares if you think the game is going to flop because it isn't following the formula of X popular game? Don't play it and then watch at how wrong you are when it succeeds. I don't know what else to tell you.
And for some reason, popularity is the only thing that matters to these people. I'm going to make what may seem like a strange analogy at first, but
All
just
right.
trust me on this. When Gangnam Style released in 2012, it was a global phenomenon. It became
Okay. Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna keep pausing it. I'm so sorry. Gangnam Style is a really interesting case because I was a child. I wasn't even a teenager yet at this point when this released, but I loved the song. It was super popular. Everyone in school sang it. Everyone knew it. Ironically, now knowing the lyrics, it's so funny. It's ironic. If you didn't know, Gangnam Style is about it's a parody song. So Gangnam is like a place, like a district or something. It's a location in South Korea, and it's basically what's the American version of this? Beverly Hills, Hollywood. I'm not American. I have no idea, but it's the rich place. Everyone there is like super important, super rich, and importantly, superficial. So Gangnam Style is mocking their lifestyle. It's all about superficial appearances, caring about useless things, having way more money than you ever need. Yeah, and as we all know, South Korea is a capitalist dystopia. So many people struggling with money there, and yet it's making so much money for the top people. So that's what the song is about. We've all been dancing to a parody of a capitalist dystopia this entire time. I just think it's really funny that it got popular. It's like Squid Game. The message kind of got lost in the sauce. Something Disco Elysium. Any criticism of capitalism subsumes itself into capitalism, something like that.
Became the first video to reach 1 billion views on YouTube, and just like that, the Korean pop industry was catapulted into the mainstream. More than a decade after that phenomenon, do we now have a thriving industry consisting solely of songs that are like Gangnam Style? Sounds a bit silly, doesn't it? Psy did not stumble upon some magic formula for success which can be repeated forever with the right balance of ingredients, and Psy has explicitly said this himself.
You know, I cannot call this success because this is called phenomena, and which means I don't do anything. People do it, right? So this was by people, not by me.
K-pop is the leviathan of an industry it is today,
That makes sense,
not because everybody copied Gangnam Style, but because people took advantage of the opportunities Gangnam Style opened up. Fast forward to 2020 and Genshin Impact becomes a global phenomenon, catapulting gacha games into the mainstream.
Yeah, but
MiHoYo, with some forward-thinking
other
people at
games
the wheel,
shouldn't
quickly
be
built a
like
brand
Genshin.
identity, renaming themselves HoYoverse, and now, 5 years later, HoYoverse has found unfathomable sustained
Genshin
success.
Impact.
But again,
But yeah, I mean, copycat games have come out of Genshin all the time, and they're so boring. I mean, Tower of Fantasy was the first like major Genshin clone, and oh my god. And I've seen some footage of Neverness to Everness. I'm sorry, I'm gonna make some sweeping generalizations here. So if you're a fan of NTE and what I'm saying is inaccurate, then understand that I'm biased in this. I haven't seen everything, but from the little that I have seen, I've seen some aspects of its like outdoor exploration type, and it looked way too much like Genshin. It just felt like soulless. I know there's other elements to it. I think it'll really thrive on the city stuff and the car driving. But from the bit that I saw of like the outdoor exploration and like the woods, it looked way too similar to Genshin. I was so like taken aback by it. Yeah, I think Ananta will do great because it's basically trying to be GTA. And so I'm not going to list too many examples at this point. But you get the gist of it, right? You add a spin to it. Wuthering Waves didn't copy Genshin. It took a lot of inspiration from it. Yes, in the same way that Genshin took inspiration from Breath of the Wild a lot. Even its slow exploration. Have you tried climbing in Breath of the Wild? That's where Genshin got its slow-ass climbing from, and the stamina system. Wuthering Waves said, what if it was faster? And like, what if it was more combat focused? Yeah, it did its own thing. That's why Wuwa is popular as it is now. Not because it copied Genshin, but because it changed enough of the homework that it was actually unique. And I don't even play Wuwa. I don't even play that much Wuwa. I've logged in before. I don't play it, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So Endfield should stand on its own, obviously taking inspiration from many other games, especially Genshin, but come on, it's its own thing. Let it breathe. We are 5 years almost. No. Yeah, no, hell, we are almost 4 years after the Genshin craze. Let's see some changes. If 10 years after Genshin came out, in 2031, we see Genshin clones still that don't do anything interesting, it's the death of that industry, man. Come on.
this is not because they found some magic formula, but because they took advantage of the opportunities brought about by the phenomenon that was and is Genshin Impact. This is what people so often miss when they insist that every new gacha game needs to be like some other gacha game. Of course, this is no concern for enlightened and experienced
Oh boy,
3D
here we
anime
go.
RPG gacha game enthusiasts like ourselves. I'm sure our judicious and learned beta testers have provided invaluable feedback to the developers. Shall we peruse a few of them? Dash feels underwhelming. It should be more forgiving and have more iframes. It's not to my liking because of my action RPG experiences. You don't say! Game needs a proper dodge, and anyone who says otherwise is coping. A quick look around the gacha space makes this abundantly clear. Not being able to dodge cancel makes the overall combat loop feel unsatisfying because you're forced to take hits that could have been avoided. Yeah, dodging definitely needs rework, like larger iframes for casuals and consecutive dodges, and dodges not breaking your basic attack combo, and more dodging distance, and making dodges more rewarding, and make SP.
Are you seeing this? Wait. This one actually got me. Yeah, changing the core combat mechanics would be a lot, especially when we're in CBT already, and everyone not just in CBT expects to sell a combat for a while. So expectations, which is fair. The dodging definitely needs rework, like larger iframes for more casual players, so more forgiving, allowing consecutive dodges, so less punishing on mistakes. Dodging not breaking your basic attack combo, also less punishing. And further dodging distance, more convenience. And also, they should make perfect dodges more rewarding rather than a flashing blue light, or ditch the whole perfect dodge mechanic. Okay, so I want to focus on that first part because this is from their experience. They feel unsatisfied because they feel it's too punishing. So this is my interpretation of this data. The player provides feedback. Players often don't know what they want, but they definitely can tell you how they felt about their experience. As developers, you shouldn't take their word as it is. Like, you shouldn't take their word for it, but the valuable thing that they provide that you couldn't was the experience of playing that game. If you can address those experience concerns, you don't have to do everything they ask you to do, as long as you solve the core problem. So this person has a problem with it being too punishing. The stuff that they're talking about is to make it so that you don't get punished for missing a timing, whiffing your attack, not spacing your dodges right, using your dodge accidentally so you had less charges. They want more less tight frames because the timing was too tight for them. So ultimately they struggled, I suppose. They struggled with the general idea of dodging and positioning and spacing. But their solution, so their proposed solution is more forgiving dodges. But, for example, in this example, the devs shouldn't take the lesson of they should just follow what this person says of make the timing more lenient, make the, don't break basic attack combo, make it further distance and all this, and add more consecutive dodges. No, they might consider adding, I don't know, they might consider the main issue right now is feeling like they're being punished too much. But they can circumvent this by making it so that even if you're getting hit because you're bad or you're new or both, and you're trying to learn to get better, make it so that tanking and defense is really good. It's a really viable option. You can face tank hits if you build the right characters, so build the right gear. Make healing a thing. You can heal up the damage done so that instead of making it easier to dodge, make it so that the dodge is less punishing by making it so that you don't die. You are hurt less if you use the right strategies, thus keeping the dodge, which still needs skill, but you're not so punished for not knowing how to do it properly. You can still survive the hits. You can heal it back up. You can mitigate the damage, whatever. So this is one of my proposed solutions.
Making dodges more rewarding, and make SP bars 4 instead of 3. It would make combat faster. Please make normal attacks more powerful, and also make each hit give SP, and also stagger, and also please give SP whenever I dodge. Also, please make dodges use less stamina. Also, so far so good, but it feels like some essential features are missing, like iframe rolls and parrying and deflecting. Hey, remember what I said about playing?
Yeah, look, the game would have added parries if they wanted to. If the game always wanted iframe rolls and parrying, they would have added it. It would have been a huge selling point as well. Like, ooh, the game has parrying. Do you know how many people would play a game just because it has parrying in it? It's all a selling point, but Arknights Endfield doesn't do that. Because they don't want to. That's not the point of the gameplay. There is no parrying. There is no iframe rolls. That's what you need to understand from a player's perspective, is that games aren't supposed to be homogenous where every cool mechanic that you came across in a game is just inherited and imported into another game. No, different games do different things with it. That's the cool part about different video games made by different people, right? They offer different experiences. The intent behind it is different.
Players wanting more and more action if a dodge exists. Make SP bars 4 instead of 3 and make it recharge faster. Right now, there's no incentive to swap to another character during combat. It cancels the animation and doesn't change the position. I hope they make it more like Wuthering Waves. Oh, here we go, boys. Buckle up. Combat. I hope they...
Right, so for example, this one, okay, this last one I'll look at, I promise. So this person is having trouble with the AI. Or rather, the lack of incentive to switch to another character because you're punished for it. The switch cancels the attack animation that doesn't change the position into the next character. So basically, that's a limitation. You are basically forced to stop whatever you're doing and make it so that that character is now at your position. So I assume the idea here is that if you really want to switch to another character, you should have a really good reason to do so. Whether it's activating an ultimate or repositioning because you don't want that character to get hit in a certain hitbox, or you want that character to get hit because there's a counter attack, or, you know, there's a very specific reason why you'd want to switch. But obviously, players aren't thinking about that. They're going to be thinking, hey, I want to just use this character. Why can't I just swap to this character easily? Wow, it feels so unsatisfying to swap to a different character. Hey, can you fix this? You see? The answer isn't to just give them what they think they want. It's to really look at the source of the problem and go, is this really the right solution? And I'm not saying this to demean players or patronize players or try to say that they're dumb and don't really know what they're asking for. In a way, I am. The not knowing what they're asking for part, but not the others, because, well, that's just the unique perspectives you have as a player and as a developer. You need to work together in order to hash these things out. It's a mutual process. That's the reason we have beta tests to begin with, open beta tests, closed beta tests. People need to try it out, and they can iterate and improve on those experiences. Okay, now we'll continue the video. We are 50. Oh my god, it's almost been an hour. We're only 20 minutes into this. I'm actually...
They make it more like Wuthering Waves. Oh, here we go, boys. Buckle up. Combat's already way better than with the technical test. Being too different will scare new players away. They changed it from the technical test for a reason. But this is my view as someone who's played lots of recent gacha games like Genshin Impact, Zenless Zone Zero, and Wuthering Waves, but never the original Arknights. By the way, there is Girls Frontline 2 for a more top-down strategic approach.
That's a tactics
exactly
game.
Why I'm not playing it. Here are some exploration options in the competitors I've played. Genshin Impact. The game should tell me which weapon to put on my character, like in Zenless Zone Zero. Also, the game should tell me which gear to put on my character, like in Zenless Zone Zero. Overworld exploration feels kind of slow. A good example of how to make it better would be Wuthering Waves. Right now, this feels like a certain game where the combat is you running around and combining different skills to get the reaction. Damn, that's crazy. I wonder why. Jump feels too short and floaty. It would be great to increase the height or allow a double jump. It would have to redo all the geometry. What do you mean? This is especially important because of improvements to exploration the competition has been making. Oh, will you please fuck off?
it's like, how can I say this? It's like the players are giving pointer, like, because this is competition. Well, it's not direct competition, but it is close competition. Players are just looking for an excuse to hop games. Or they want a certain kind of experience. They like this kind of experience in this game. And they want to see it in another game, not because they want to play another game. They just want to play more of that game. It's like players want to play more Wuwa or more Zenless Zone Zero instead of Endfield. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, the competition is doing it this way. You should do it like this, or else you won't appease me. You won't be pandering to me. Unless I won't play your game if you don't make it like other games I like. It's like this strangely entitled behavior of being like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not tripping out here, am I? Like, I'm not making shit up in my head, right? Like, I feel like there's a slight amount of that, of feeling like, hey, I won't play your game if you don't make it like this. This game's really good. Do you want to be a good game? Do you want me to give money to you? Then make it more like this game, please. It's like the weirdest version of entitlement.
It would be great if they considered adding platforming abilities like a double jump and wall climbing.
A grappling hook?
The grappling hook. It's
Why?
one of the fun aspects of open.
Okay, I said that was the last comment, but I actually need to look at this. Suggestion to add basic platforming abilities and gear. Disclaimer, I know pylon ziplines, vertical ziplines, jumping pads exist and well implemented in the game environment, whether as a shortcut or puzzle, but it still doesn't feel like giving a player a lot of freedom to explore. Since one of the main themes of the game is conquering talos through exploration and resource mining, I think it would be great if the developers considered adding basic platforming abilities as gear, like double jump, wall climbing, swimming, and a grappling hook. First of all, they need to delay the game by like at least a year if they wanted to do this. These features would really encourage exploration, whether it's climbing to high platforms, reaching the edges of the map, or swimming to the farthest depths. It's one of the fun aspects of open world games and would give players a chance to fully appreciate the environment the developers have put so much effort into creating. Now, commendable effort, right? I appreciate this kind of comment, this feedback, but this person has made one mistake, which is assuming something. The assumption is these features would really encourage exploration. There are different forms of fun that you can find in exploration. Exploration isn't just one big monolith of fun. There's more than one way to have fun with exploring. The stuff that they're describing here is whether it's climbing to high platforms, which is like overcoming a challenge and trying to see if there's treasure on top, reaching the edges of the map, sort of being curious about the world border, or swimming to the farthest depths. Again, limit testing and seeing how far you can really go, which is one aspect of exploration that you can find fun. The other one being overcoming a physical obstacle and finding a reward. But these aren't the only two ways you can have fun exploring, right? For example, you can have environmental appreciation. This person also mentions it right there, being like, oh, appreciate the environment, but there's more than one way to appreciate the environment. Through the zip lines themselves, you can already see the vistas that are in the game. You can see the map from really high up, and you get to, it's like a zip line. It's fun. You get to see the whole map. That's one of the ways you can appreciate the view of the game. Other aspects of exploring is finding puzzles. Puzzles are a great part of exploration. It's not just about finding treasure chests, it's how you even get to the treasure chests. And then there's environmental storytelling. There's no gameplay in particular here, but it's more like you just look at something and just go, huh, that's interesting, and then you realize it's telling a story. Or a quest. There can be a quest related to exploration where you're trying to follow a trail of bandits into a cave, and then you follow the bandits into the cave and you discover a secret, which is different from overcoming a physical obstacle and finding a treasure, for example. There's so many different ways to enjoy exploration, and this person is mistakenly equating encouraging exploration with double jumping, wall climbing, swimming, and grappling hook. Basically, more ways of traversal, more methods of traversal, more convenient ways of traversal. Again, that's probably not what Enfield wants to do. It wants you to go places, build things, and make it more organized, make it more advanced, so that you can traverse it easier. It's that advancement and completion, progression type feel to it that you really are trying to go for. Okay.
World game. It's not an open world game, for crying out loud. All the big open world games.
Okay. It is kind of open world. You have to look. It is a kind of open world game. I think you can make the argument that it's not strictly an open world game, but come on, it is an open world game by technicality, isn't it? I mean, think about what the elements of an open world game are, and think whether it applies to Enfield or not. But that's a conversation for another day.
Gacha games let you carry over the pity, so this system will not bode well for most of the mainstream gacha community. Well, they can bloody well fuck off then! People need to learn how to skip banners. This is stupid advice. Just look at this example from You just wanted to be more like Hoyoverse. And they're the most popular gacha, period. Not carrying over the guarantee in a game competing with I only build up pity if there is a character I really want dupes for. The concept of dupes is already questionable. Looking at Genshin I know very few people that play Arknights, but dozens that play Hoyo and Kuro games. This is a lie. You know people who play one Kuro game. It is Wuthering Waves specifically. Don't fucking lie to me! It's about what your competition does in business. Oh my god, you people are insufferable. I keep pulling after I get the character to build pity, but that's now a mistake in this game. You have a gambling addiction! Building pity is not a thing! In my ideal gacha system, there is no 50-50 system at all. Just a banner with X pulls to get it guaranteed, and a higher chance to get it at X pulls.
That's what Enfield does. Yeah, Endfield does that.
My words, if this system goes live with no changes, the player base from competitors of this game will absolutely not play long term.
They're so obsessed with the competitor. Look, if you don't like Endfield, don't play it. A lot of people already don't play Arknights, and it's still doing really damn well. It's one of the top, it's like in the top 10 or top 20 gacha games revenue, right? It's still making bank. And you've never heard of it. So who cares what you think, right? Like, oh my god. Like, I understand appealing to demographics. Like, okay, let's try and get some people from Genshin, from Uwa, from all these different games to try and play Enfield. That's fine. But we're not trying to suck their dicks. What the fuck? You know what I mean? There's a difference. There's a nuance there. We're not going on one end of the extreme. We're not trying to suck the dicks of all the people who play all those other games and say, hey, look at Enfield, it's the same as the same, guys, go play this game. And it's also not if you don't like it, don't play it. It would just start gatekeeping, like, only Arknights fans can play it, You know, it's like, we're not doing either of those, not any of those extremes. It's between. We're trying to get a bit of both, Arknights players and other gacha players. You know, like, what? Oh my god.
Bear in mind, by the way, this is just from the Discord.
I don't want to know what Twitter is like.
Far more of this in the private feedback surveys.
Oh no, I don't want to know.
I want to highlight one more post,
I really don't.
however, in which two testers state similar concerns to mine and are met with a rather depressing response. The first tester says, currently there are a lot of action elements, but the battles don't feel exciting. I think the battle system in the technical test might be more enjoyable. When it comes to action, other companies' games are more refined, and the current system just feels like an inferior version of them, which is just annoying. The second agrees. There are some opinions that it's plain compared to other games, but Enfield is differentiated from others and is interesting in its own way, so I don't want it to be swayed by those opinions and make it feel too action-oriented. If the dodge window is too lenient, it'll just become a dodging action game.
Yeah.
While the third tester, eloquently summing up the vast majority of the feedback, says, I agree with increasing the action element. The reason is simple, it will attract a wider range of players. This, essentially, is the mindset of people who keep asking for the game to be something it's not.
It's always about, but you'll get more players, but you'll get more players. At what point do you keep justifying trying to get more players versus making something you actually want to make? Like, yes, they're a corporate. Hypergraph, they're still a big company. They make tons of money, and they're using Gacha, which is inherently predatory. But it's clear that the creator of Arknights, Lowlight himself, has a vision, and the team itself has put out blog posts saying they have a vision of the game that they want to make, and they really like the base building element, and they just want to introduce more people to that element. They feel like people who say they don't like base building, maybe they will like it if presented in an accessible way. They're fans of games trying to make a game that is enjoyable for them and for players. Trying to make a gacha game purely to attract as many people as possible is a bad idea. You shouldn't try and make a gacha like that. Gacha games inherently are meant to attract certain demographics of people, not make blanket generalizations of people and just saying, yeah, more people equals good. And I mean, that'll bring more money, but creatively, the game's it's gonna be a mess. I want Arknights Endfield to keep its artistic integrity. As long as the people who always did like the game for being what it is can keep the servers on, then that's good enough. They can worry about getting more plays afterwards. But the core of the game, the identity of Arknights Endfield shouldn't change just to appeal to more people, because at the end of the day, why do that? For more money? What are you going to do with all that money? If it's at the cost of your passion, of your artistic integrity, is it even worth it? I've made that mistake before, multiple times actually, thinking that choosing a job with the most money will make me happy. Or I'll do something I don't like, or put up with people I don't tolerate to get more money is fine. I can get my bag, and it works, but only for a while before I start being really unhappy. And I always leave. I quit because I would rather struggle until I find something I really want to do, rather than being a shitty job I don't want to be in. And I know that I have that luxury. Not everyone can do that. That's exactly why I'm doing it. Not everyone has the luxury to make that choice. I'm fortunate in these circumstances to have this choice, but a lot of other people have to put up with the shit, even if they don't want to, and for little money anyway. Not even for a lot of money. That's even worse than my situation, right? At least I get money. Some people go through shit 9 to 5s just so they can get minimum wage. That sucks ass, you know? So I disagree that Enfield should appeal to as many players as possible. It's Arknights, for God's sake. Do you think Arknights was trying to appeal to every people possible? They already fucked that up when they made Tower Defense. They already fucked that up when they made Reclamation Algorithm a survival mode. Do you know how many % of Arknights players play that? The amount of people who play Arknights within the gacha community is already like a lower percentage. And then the people who play Arknights for that mode is even lower. But they still made that game mode because why? They like it. They're nerds. The people at Hypergriff are fucking nerds. Enfield is going to be a nerdy-ass game, and I want it to keep being a nerdy-ass game. It separates itself
They have no
from these other
of
ones.
Carving out a niche in the market, or games having unique
Yeah, carving out
identities, or
a niche.
developers having their
It's a
own
valid
vision.
strategy.
It's all just monthly revenue PvP.
Yes,
It is
exactly.
boring, it is exhausting.
Who
and
cares?
I lament the apparent reality that Hypergriff seems to be listening to them. As it stands, the base is the one and only thing meaningfully differentiating Endfield from other gacha games. Thankfully, the majority of people anticipating the game's release do seem to understand how important the base is for that reason. But while it does have tons of room to grow and become even better, I have become convinced it will not. The most optimistic outcome I can believe in is that new regions will have a new gimmick, like Jinlong's fluids and pipes. You build a new base with it over the course of maybe a few days at most. The vast majority of players will be satisfied, and that's where it will end. Gacha games are not conventional games. Fundamentally, the characters are the product, and the game is simply a vessel through which the product is marketed. But reducing all gacha games to this fundamental is boring. They're fun.
They're still games
There's
after
so much
all.
potential in the live service model for outstanding single-player games to see years of consistent updates and improvements, to foster thriving communities that conventional games often don't have the lifespan for. Instead, a subset of the communities that already exist
Was
are
that guy doing
preventing
Scotty
potential
skill
from
too?
being realized by consistently pushing new endeavors with unique visions into the same box until they all become homogenized imitations of the same thing. Hypergriff needs to decide if they are content with being that imitation. Because a game for everyone is a
It's
game,
a game for
no
no
one.
one. Yep. 100% agree.
There was a moment while playing through the main story which I think will stick with me for many years. I was thinking about some moments from the alpha, like Fial's desperate attempts to jump onto this ledge because I was standing on it and admiring certain details on the blighted gigaspawns. My boy was caked up.
Yo, he had no
Holy-
business
I happened to
carrying
be in
around
the
that
Origin Low Spring
bakery.
region at the time, and I noticed why the music for this place in particular felt so eerie. Remember the menu theme I was glazing earlier? Now compare that motif to the music from this part of the map.
Beautiful.
It invokes a feeling of loss, a feeling of knowing something will never be the same again. And suddenly, I had to stop what I was doing because I was hit with an overwhelming feeling of nostalgia for the Alpha.
Are you having fun, Topo?
It's really satisfying, actually. I'm a big fan of it. There's so much potential in what this combat can be.
I really like the slowing down and aiming it.
Do you have
I
any
wish they
comments on
kept
the
it.
overall storyline? Okay. Can write an essay for this. I want the story to have a spine. And let
It does
writers
feel
take
pretty
risks.
bland.
I'll be disappointed if it's dumbed down and basic. Wait, no. Angelina!
Angie, that's not how you abuse gravity.
Angie, no! I'm sorry. I really hope they commit to what they've got here. I think it's sick. Commit to the vision, commit to no dodge and shit. Obviously, like, it needs refining and stuff, but...
You do understand not many people will agree with you.
Yeah, I know. As long as they're actually playing the alpha and understand what the vision is and what it's asking of them, it's totally fine. If
They won't
disagree,
understand
all I can
that.
reasonably ask of someone is to think for themselves, right?
It's the gacha community. We're talking
I
casual.
can't fucking wait for this
Casual.
game to release, man. This is a technical alpha. It's like a really bare bones version of this game, and it's already like I've just been unable to put it down. Just actually insane. I'm so excited, dude. I can't wait.
It feels a little weird to talk about it this way because it was literally only a year ago, but I'm making this video in the first place because I need to express how it made me feel.
I just realized the subs went back to being down at the
I
bottom.
had
Whoops.
so much optimism for what the game could be. But now that optimism is becoming silent lamentation. If Endfield continues on the path it's currently on, every gacha developer with an eye on this game will see the trend. Originality is overrated and the path to success lies in imitation. The men in suits will take notice and unique, interesting ideas with oceans of potential will not even see the light of sunrise. Endfield is a dying canary in a coal mine. That canary may not be dead yet, but I am not at all convinced Hypergriff is interested in saving it. What could have been the harbinger of a golden age could instead doom itself to be the death knell of gacha games.
Ooh, what a line to cap it off. But that is the
I have given every
situation,
possible piece
isn't
of
it?
feedback I can give to the developers. And so I have done all that I can to convince them to remain faithful to the vision they clearly had. For now, I can only hope the decisions which need to be made will be made by those who are just as enchanted with that vision as I am. And I won't be left wondering what could have been.
yay, we're doom posting on main. Let's go. Oh, there's special thanks there. Oh, Zarathan's on here. All right. Wow, that was a fantastic video. Very well produced as well. But also, your opinions were loud and clear. And we've made plenty of discussions on that. What this video is long. Much longer than the video. But hey, you clicked on the Ceru video. You know how it is. Come on. Let's be real. Right, so my closing thoughts. I'm still optimistic. Arknights didn't start off great. It floundered for a while. There are still moments in its history where mistakes were made. They constantly make mistakes. But the reason why I've been sticking with Arknights for so long is because I feel like they actually care enough about the game to rectify those mistakes. Try something, they're not afraid to try something new. Be different. And right their wrongs. They have a creative vision for the game and they're really interested in keeping that. Sure, they'll make some decisions to make more money. It'll become obvious when certain gacha decisions have been made. But at the end of the day, the actual IP of Arknights itself seems to be very important to them. Not just from a business point of view, but just because they're fans of the world itself. So I hope that Endfield is decent, at least on launch. I believe in them to make the game better over time, say 6 months to a year, but that's still a long time. People are going to drop out of the game. People are going to flame the game. People are going to shit on the game. And some of that is deserved, probably. But my biggest hope with Hypergriff is that they will listen and change things. Yeah. I mean, it's a whole rabbit hole asking a gacha developer to listen. But, I mean, look at Wuthering Waves, listening to a certain kind of community. That's kind of game they're fostering. But that's their decision. Core Games wanted to appeal to that kind of fan base. They will listen to those kinds of opinions. But I hope for Endfield, the Hypergriff listens to opinions like this guy's. This kind of listening. So, yes, I am tired, but we'll have the reaction to the next video, the follow-up video, sometime. Sometime this month as well, I guess. Just keep a lookout for it. I'll be uploading more as well. Let me know what you think about the game in the comments, whether you know about Endfield or not. If you don't, let me know how this video was for you, getting introduced to Endfield. Or if you are excited about the game, what are you excited about? Who's your favorite character? So, yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.